Autoline Daily is brought to you by Borg Warner, feel good about driving. Bridgestone, your journey, our passion. Dow Automotive Systems, improving durability and increasing design flexibility with Betamate structural adhesives at dowbetamate.com. And by the 2013 Hyundai Sonata. Learn more at HyundaiSonata.com.
Wow, we've made it to the end of another week. TGIF. And now let's get to the latest news in the global automotive industry. Last night on Autoline After Hours, we learned about one of the coolest aerodynamic tricks they're using on the new Corvette. That ductwork on the top of the rear fenders is functional and takes in air for the transmission radiator on one side and the differential radiator on the other. But here's the most interesting part. That air gets exhausted from vents on either side of the tail lamps. That airflow fills in a low pressure zone at the rear of the car and tricks the airflow into thinking that the car is longer, thus reducing drag. And you know, I knew I had seen something like this before. Do any of you remember the Probe 4, an aerodynamic study that Ford did in 1983? It sucked air in on those slots on the rear fender and vented it out the back of the car for the same reason that they're doing it on the new Corvette. But while the Probe 4 was a wind tunnel study, the Corvette is the first car that I'm aware of to use that in production. We reported on this last year, but now it's official. Mazda and Fiat will collaborate on developing a new two-seat convertible sports car for Alfa Romeo. The car will be based on the next generation MX-5 and will be built by Mazda in Japan. The Alfa will have its own unique styling and will offer a different powertrain than the MX-5. They both go into production in 2015. And just so you don't puzzle too much over how we titled this story, did you know that Toyo Kogyo is actually the official name of Mazda? And speaking of low-cost, fun-to-drive, rear-drive sports cars, looks like the Scion FRS and Subaru BRZ might be getting some new competition. GM's North American president Mark Roy says that building a small rear-drive coupe, and I quote, is on the list. He says the car would most likely be built from GM's rear-drive Alpha platform, which is the one that they use for the Cadillac ATS. And do you remember that Mark Royce was the executive who led the development of the Pontiac Solstice and Saturn Sky? Geez, we got a lot of do-you-remembers in today's show. Car sales may have slowed down in China last year, but they're still posting breathtaking totals. We just got the official tally. 19.3 million units were sold. That includes 15.5 million light vehicles and 3.8 million commercial ones. At yesterday's Montreal Auto Show, Honda pulled the wraps off a concept car called the Gear. I love the surface language on this car, especially the front end. Honda says this could be a simple, affordable, and customizable car aimed at young buyers in an urban area. But we don't have any other details on this concept, so I guess we'll just have to wait on this one. Say, what are the latest trends in engine technology? We will be talking to the editors at Ward's Auto World about that right after this.
Proven on the track and on roads around the world, Borg-Warner turbochargers improve fuel economy and reduce emissions without sacrificing performance. Borg-Warner, official turbocharger supplier to the Izod Indy Car Series.
Every year, the editors of Ward's Auto World evaluate all kinds of engines and then they award the 10 best. In fact, that's what they call it, Ward's 10 Best. I recently invited 4 of the editors to join me for Autoline This Week to talk about where they see engine technology going.
Well, certainly smaller displacements, we've seen that. I mean, the idea of a little 4-cylinder engine powering a big Ford Taurus would be unheard of not long ago. So a lot less V8s, a lot less V6s, and essentially the V6s are replacing the V8s, and the V8s are becoming more specialty power plants. The V8 that made this year's engine is the biggest, baddest production V8 there is. It's the V8 in the Mustang GT500 makes 662 horsepower, which is just unheard of. And plus, it doesn't have a gas guzzler tax, and it gets maybe 25 miles per gallon on the highway. Now, it's not everybody's cup of tea or whatever, but that's pretty amazing engineering. And when we went to, Ford made a presentation to us of all their engines, and they went with all the hybrids and all their small displacement engines, and then the GT500 guy got up and said, well, I'm the guy that burns up all the gas that these guys are saying.
Well, I said that if that didn't make the 10 best engines, it should make the 10 beast engines, because it's a beast of an engine. But it's also a pretty decent engine. It has a lot of technology in it. And
good engineering, I mean, basically. Yeah, good thermodynamic engineering.
We looked at, I think, 3 good V8s.
Yes.
And, you know, so to your point that V8s are not dead. Maybe they're going to go niche more than they have been, but they're still alive and well.
But the sub-2-liter engines, I mean, that's just amazing to me, because you hardly ever saw in the U.S. an engine under 2 liters, and now we're seeing a ton of them, and there's a lot of them that are very good.
And a Taurus, and a full-size Taurus, as well as the Focus. So talk about a range of vehicles.
You can watch that entire show right now at www.autoline.tv and learn who Ward's gave its 10 best awards to. And you can also catch all the coverage that we devoted to the Detroit Auto Show, as well as our Autoline Supplier Symposium. Lots of good information there. But that wraps up today's report and brings us to the end of the week. So have a great weekend, and please join us again here on Monday.
Ward's is the industry leader for news, data, and analysis. That's why companies across the globe subscribe to our premium service, maybe even your own. Log in for subscriber access now. Check your company's intranet for details, and rely on wardsauto.com to keep you informed.